It's Meltdown Tuesday, Friday edition, and there's a lot of things to get really angry about. Number one, it's got to start with the Kentucky Derby. Everybody gets all excited every year. Of course, nobody watches horse racing except for 3 specific races. And now everybody's like, oh, it's so exciting, the Kentucky Derby, Churchill Downs, look at all the great hats. Those hats suck. You want to know why they suck? Because it's fake. Everybody gets all jacked up. They put on these ridiculous hats that are thousands of dollars in some cases, and everybody acts like they're high society. You're in Kentucky. There's nothing high society about you. You're in a place where people call their sisters or mothers half the time because they're related in 5 different ways. Don't get all jacked up about the fact that you get to wear a funny hat for a couple of hours and a dress and some heels, and you're next to your husband or your boyfriend or a significant other who's dressed in a suit that he has no business being in. Don't be that happy. You're not in a great place. You're in Kentucky, and when that race is over in 2 minutes, you're still in Kentucky, and now you just look ridiculous.
They drive me to drink!
And now we get to one of my favorite subjects, the New York Knicks. The Knicks have decided to stick with Kurt Rambis despite the fact that Frank Vogel became one of the options for the head coaching vacancy. Phil Jackson is trying to murder this team step by step. It's the only logical conclusion to what is going on. First, he hired Derek Fisher, who's more concerned with sleeping with Matt Barnes' wife than he is with winning 45 games and actually reaching the playoffs. Then they replaced him with Kurt Rambis, a man who has absolutely no credentials to be a head coach other than the fact that he wore rec specs and was a decent player with a mullet in the 80s for the Lakers. Why is Rambis the head coach of this team? You are the New York Knicks. You're playing Madison Square Garden. You can hire anybody you want. You could get anybody, and you're hiring Kurt Rambis? Why? Why? You know why? Because he runs a damn triangle. And you know what the triangle's doing for the Knicks? A whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of 50 lost seasons. They don't have players who fit the triangle. Carmelo Anthony is the least triangle player of all time. Phil, you are turning into Elgin Baylor, and not in a good way. You are turning into the biggest laughingstock. The only thing the Knicks are missing at this point is to bring in Isaiah Thomas as a consultant and let him and Phil run the show together. That team needs to be traded. They should have a closed casket at center court next year for the Knicks. They could just put the dignity in there and close her up, play Danny Boy over the loudspeakers. That team is a full-on, full-blown disgrace. The fans should stop showing up, but maybe first, pay your respects. Could have an open casket, but at this point, the scene's too grisly. Shut the lid, be done with it. And lastly, we've got to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. They drafted Tyreek Hill in the 5th round of the NFL draft this year, and they're pretty jacked up about it. Why? Because he has world-class speed. So what's the problem with that? He got kicked out of Oklahoma State, had to finish up his college career at Western Alabama. He had to get kicked out because he went out and he punched his pregnant girlfriend and he strangled her, threw her against the wall, and he was pleading guilty to this entire thing. So it's not as though these are accusations. He actually did it. And then the Chiefs get up in a press conference and say, hey, you gotta trust us. I'm not trusting you with anything. I'm trusting the fact that he pleaded guilty to punching a pregnant woman in the stomach. How can you justify bringing this guy into a locker room that is always talked about as, oh, we have so much character. We take character into consideration. You don't take crap into consideration. This guy beat a woman with a child inside of her, and you're okay with that? How can you justify this guy being anywhere near this team? He's going to compete for a kick return duty? You have 2 of the best kick returners in football. You don't need them. And even if you did, you're bringing this clown show in? Go find the guy who runs a 4.4 who's halfway decent, who hasn't punched a pregnant girl. And then you get all these morons on Twitter go, oh, he needs a second chance. It's not fair. It's not fair. He punched a pregnant girl. He doesn't need a second chance. Go let him work at Burger King. Why does he get a second chance? It's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That woman, if she lost that child, she doesn't get a second chance at having that kid, and this clown is going to get brought in to be given a shot. I hope he gets cut. If he looks at a woman even in the wrong way, the slightest way, they should cut him immediately. The idea that he deserves a second chance because he's got talent is the biggest joke in the world, and people that feel that way are glue sniffers.